Hello, fictional. Welcome to the Fiction Series X. Today we are gonna see what if Issei become the Black Dragon of Oblivion. Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Revelations. Seraphol and Dante arrived at the clubroom. Everyone was very surprised to see Seraphol wrapped around a strange man. Only Issei had seen the Black Dragon's true form. Sona and her queen were also in the room, and Sona was upset and began, "Who do you think you are? Leave my sister alone." Dante let out a heavy sigh and quietly whispered to Seraphol, who still had her eyes closed and was wrapped around Dante's muscular body. "Lady Leviathan, we have arrived." She quickly let go of Dante and said while her face was beet red, "Sorry, it was just my first time so I wasn't sure." Seraphol was interrupted by Sona, who just realized a strange man hadn't incapacitated her sister. Seraphol noticed her sister and ran over with enthusiasm. "My baby sister. Oh, Sona, you need to meet Dante, he is also called the Black Dragon Emperor." Sona and everyone else in the room were surprised, the Black Dragon was a human. Dante scratched the back of his head, "Yep, that's me, nice to meet you all formally." Dante took a slight bow then turned his attention to Issei and spoke, "Issei, you need to come here now." Dante's face was very serious. Issei quickly went over and Dante spoke, "Listen, this may hurt, but I need to show you something." Black Dragon scale mail, Oblivion armor echoed throughout the clubroom. Drake began to speak with Alduin. "Alduin, what are you doing?" asked Drake. "I am saving Issei," said Alduin. Dante placed his dragon hand on Issei, turned to the rest of the room, "Listen up, I need the Red Dragon Emperor for something. We are going to the dimensional gap." Everyone gasped as Dante continued, "Lady Leviathan is also coming with us, we will need her power." Seraphol quickly went over to Dante and wrapped her arms around Dante ready to transport. Dante smiled and said, "We only needed to do that once, but if it makes you feel safer that's fine." Seraphol blushed, she only just met him. Why did she want to hold him? Suddenly, Dante activated his power's dimensional shift. When Seraphol heard this, she wrapped herself around Dante again, she felt safe. Even if she was strong, Dante was far stronger. Issei was still in Dante's hand. When they arrived in the dimensional gap, Dante began to give Issei power. Seraphol was surprised, "Dante, what are you doing?" Dante with his focus still on Issei spoke, "Just call me D, and I am giving him life so he can survive." By activating Juggernaut drive like that his life force was drained and it also took away some of his powers. Seraphol continued, "So, how long will what you are doing take? And why did you want me to come with?" Dante let out a slight smile while still giving Issei power. "Well, you seem really interesting so maybe if you wanted we could go out for dinner sometime." Seraphol blushed, she had never been asked on a date before. A few suitors here and there, but never someone like Dante. She blushed, "Well, I mean I wouldn't mind." Dante smiled, "Well, maybe we can talk about this another time. Just wanted to introduce the idea to you. I'm done with Issei." Seraphol felt almost disappointed she liked being with Dante. Dante spoke again, "Seraphol, I am going to send you back now. This is a conversation between only dragons. Don't worry, you will be right back at the clubroom." Dante was very reassuring. Seraphol answered, "Okay, will I see you again soon?" Dante smirked, "Yes you will, don't worry about it." Dante raised his arm and sent Lady Leviathan back to the clubroom. Dante began, "Well Issei, we can finally have a conversation alone." Issei was confused, "What were you doing to me?" Dante quickly said, "Oh, yes, I was giving your life force a boost by adding on to it. You will now live a long full life as a devil. Also, you will have better abilities to access your powers." Issei was very thankful then said, "So, what did you want to talk about?" Dante sighed and returned to human form. "I wanted to ask you about Riaz and the others. Do you truly think they would still care if you lost your powers or if you weren't the Red Dragon Emperor? What about your groping, would they let just anyone do that? I think they are using you Issei, Riaz is a master of manipulation. Think about it, how did she find all these powerful people just like that? How did she appear before all these people on the verge of death just to make them her slaves?" Issei gasped, the thoughts crossed his mind every once in a while, but never so bluntly had he thought about it before. "Not really Dante, I just want to be harem king so." Dante interjected, "Really is that all you want in life, or do you want more? I think you want love more than being a harem king. That is a childish dream Issei." Issei felt overwhelmed, but Dante was right, about everything he never really thought about it before. Dante continued, "Issei, do you remember Rainer?" Issei's face became angry, "How do you know about her?" Dante quickly said, "Issei, I don't think I told you this, but I have the power to sense and read minds. It is a very dangerous ability and I seldom use it. When I first met Riaz, I looked her dead into her eyes into her very soul. I saw something." Let me ask you one more question, don't you think she would have known about a fallen angel in her territory like Rainer? What about your date with her? Riaz gave you her summon circle. She knew Issei, she knew Rainer planned to kill you. She let it happen so she could get her hands on your powers. Issei was so overwhelmed he tried to argue with Dante, but Dante was right. Issei asked a different question. Why are you telling me this? Tears were beginning to form on his face. Dante let out a heavy sigh. A long time ago I had a friend, my best friend. He got a girlfriend, but the girl used him. He ended up killing himself. He stopped going to school and I would check on him after school. I was going to check on him one day like I always did, and he was dangling from a ceiling fan. On his corpse was a suicide note. It was the most heartbreaking thing I ever read. I just don't want someone like a fellow dragon to lose their life because of the allure of women. Issei was surprised. I'm sorry I didn't know about your friend. Dante spoke softly, it's okay, I'm here to help and I have a plan to verify the veracity of my thoughts. We will fight together from now on, Issei. Issei smiled, sure thing. The day off. Hey, boss, it's Dante, just wanted to call and let you know I won't be able to come into work today, sorry about that. Some personal stuff came up. I'll come in tomorrow to write the report. Thanks again. Dante hung up the phone and sat down on his couch, beer in hand. So much had happened so quickly he needed a day off. His body was drained as well as his powers, no one knew it. But he wasn't unstoppable or invincible. At the end of the day he was still a human. Dante, do you have a minute? Asked Aljuin. Sure do, it's not like I had anything planned today anyways. Said Dante. Aljuin let out a sigh and began, you keep using your powers, and I know I only exacerbated it by going out myself, but your lifespan was reduced again. Dante didn't really care much about his life. Every once in a while Aljuin told him about his life being reduced, but he wasn't ready for what Aljuin had to say. You have around 6 months at best till my power consumes you. I have been doing everything I can to stop it. But after all the power you gave Issei, Dante, you're dying. Dante took a long swig of his beer and lit a cigarette before speaking again. Well, Aljuin, we've had a good run, haven't we? Dante's hands were trembling, he always thought he was ready to die. He slowly spoke again, each word fell out of his mouth. Aljuin, I want to thank you. For the contract and everything, you saved me in my darkest moments. A flash of a noose went through Dante's mind. He didn't realize but he was crying, he hadn't cried since Era was murdered. His mind was slowly falling apart, but he composed himself and asked Aljuin more questions to ascertain his exact situation. Aljuin, how many more times can I activate Juggernaut Drive? 2 more times at best. Absorption Drive in its full power can only be activated 3 more times. Your armor can still be summoned at will. The mind reading maybe once more. Dimensional shift can be activated at best 2 more times. The vanishing can be activated at will. Dante huffed on his cigarette and stared at the ground before responding, well, Aljuin, the contract will still be fulfilled. Dante was cut off when he heard knocking at the door. He felt a slight presence, but didn't want to use any more of his powers unless he needed to. Dante was surprised when he opened the door, so surprised his cigarette fell from his mouth. Hot ashes landed by the feet of Seraphol Leviathan. Hi Dante. How are you? Dante wasn't sure how to respond. How did you find me? Seraphol looked surprised, your aura is very volatile, but not as volatile as those. Seraphol pointed down to Dante's cigarette. She seemed genuinely concerned for his health, those can kill you. You shouldn't smoke. Dante chuckled, but before he continued he motioned for Seraphol to come in. As a high-ranking devil, she wasn't used to such drab furnishings, but Seraphol welcomed the change. Dante sat down on the couch, and Seraphol sat across from him on a recliner. Dante grabbed another beer and one for Seraphol. Sorry, I only have beer and tap water. Seraphol took it graciously but thought it funny and sad that he only had alcohol. Well, began Dante. It's nice to see you, what did you want to talk about? Seraphol produced a very serious face. I wanted to talk about your contract. Dante spit out some of his beer. How the fuck do you know about that? 5 years ago. Hey, check it out, it's Dante the faggot. Said one bully, he's a dumb fucking nerd man, fuck this little gay faggot. Dante was constantly bullied by older kids. Dante quietly responded, leave me alone guys. The bullies laughed amongst one another, what was that? Speak up. The bully had placed his hand on Dante's shoulder. Dante snapped. He attacked the men just like the last time a teacher saw Dante attack. He was suspended again for fighting. The bullies would push Dante till he snapped because they knew what Dante's dad would do. Dante returned home and again was given a black eye for getting suspended. He retreated to his room. He could hear his parents yelling at each other but couldn't make out the words. He went underneath his bed and took out the bottle of whiskey he stole from his dad and began taking small sips. It burned his throat but soon he felt better. He sobbed quietly in the corner of his room. Every once in a while, he slit his wrists to see if he still felt pain. Every day was the same in Dante's mind. He was a tortured soul. Finally, at one point Dante stopped going to school. His mother felt bad and just let him stay home. She was concerned, but she had to work to pay the bills, so Dante would stay home for days at a time. Whenever he did go to school he was harassed, he had no friends and got poor grades. So, one day, Dante decided to change all of that. He had stayed home like usual, but this day was different. He was happy because he knew it would be his last. He tied a noose and hung it around his ceiling fan. He had drank nearly an entire bottle of his father's liquor. Dante's mind was almost at peace, his torments would be over. Dante slowly stood on a chair and put his neck in the noose. It was cold. The rope felt strange around Dante's neck. Dante took one final deep breath and then kicked the chair out from underneath himself. He struggled for a second, as his vision faltered he gasped for air, and in one final instant, he imagined his mother coming home to find him like this. Dante tried to pull himself up by grabbing on the ceiling fan, but his lack of air sapped him of his strength. Dante kept gnawing, trying to pull himself to safety, getting small breaths as he got closer to freeing himself. His hand started to bleed from scratching the fan's housing, eventually his arm stopped moving and his vision went black. He finally realized he wasn't ready to die. He tried to cry out for God, but God didn't answer. Dante was in a strange blackness, he could walk around and even think. Finally, he heard a voice, it was a deep bellowing voice. Dante Castle. Dante frantically turned in circles trying to find out where this voice was coming from, but the voice came again. Dante, my name is Alduin. I am here to offer you something, a contract. Dante could finally see something in the blackness, it was two red orbs with black slits at the center of the orbs. It looked like eyes, but they were massive. Dante reluctantly responded, I am listening, what are you proposing? What I offer you is power, unlike any other. I offer you hope and a new life. Dante became quickly enticed, okay, I know who you are, but, what are you? The voice chuckled, I will gladly show you. Suddenly. Flames appeared banishing the blackness and revealing a massive ebony-scaled creature, it looked like a dragon. I am the Black Dragon Emperor of Oblivion, I am as strong as a god, you will be my partner and host if you accept. Dante was amazed by the powers, he wasn't afraid, but rather intoxicated by the dragon. Okay, what are the conditions? Asked a now very interested Dante. Simple. I grant you my powers and life, in return, after a certain amount of times or depending on how much of my power you use, I will consume your soul and use it to resurrect myself back to the mortal world. Dante didn't quite understand what Alduin was saying, but agreed anyways. I am glad you agree. I will now grant you life, before I bring you back to life, do you have any questions? Dante quickly said, of course I have questions. Alduin chuckled, I will answer them in time, you should get back to life now. The dragon in front of Dante vanished and his eyes opened back in his room. He was laying on the floor and felt a pain on his back. The rope he used to hang himself had broken, it looked burned. Dante needed to see what was going on with his back, he went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror and was horrified to see what he saw. It was a strange drawing, it looked like a dragon roaring with rings surrounding it. There were 5 rings surrounding the roaring dragon. Suddenly Dante heard a voice in his head. It was Alduin. Well partner, this is the symbol of the contract. The 5 circles are seals. Each time you use a set amount of power, a circle disappears. When the dragon is all that remains, the contract will be fulfilled and I will consume your soul to bring myself back to this realm. Dante was still confused, all this talk about dimensions and realms. Alduin spoke again. I will explain it all to you in time, for now let's get rid of this evidence of the contract. Dante still stared at the mirror as the image on his back looked to almost absorb itself into his own body. Present day. Dante's mind was slipping as Seraphol kept trying to get his attention. Dante, Dante, Dante. Seraphol then transformed into her magical girl outfit. I will get you back from your pain. She was waving around a wand and talking pure nonsense, as Dante's mind slowly came back from the flashback. Seraphol was pouting while sitting next to Dante. He set his beer down and calmly asked once again how Seraphol knew of the contract. Well, you showed me your life, silly. Dante became wide-eyed, he only intended to show a small portion, not his entire life, he didn't want people to think he was weak by attempting, no rather, committing suicide. Seraphol spoke again in a heartfelt tone, Dante, it's okay. How much time do you have left? Dante could feel tears forming, once again he wasn't ready to die just yet. Around 6 months at best. Dante was looking at the ground and felt arms wrap around him. Seraphol embraced Dante. Why was she being so nice? Dante thought to himself. Dante compassed himself and asked Seraphol out on a date. She was surprised but accepted. The two went out right then and there. Dante took Serafal to a magical girl movie, out to a nice restaurant and finally, Dante's favorite place. The bar. On their way home Dante was staggering a bit, Serafal was keeping him upright. It was funny sight. The two great powers were almost back home when they ran into a familiar face arena. Workroom. Issei was lost in his thoughts, Dante's words spinning in his mind. He wanted to ask Riaz directly but couldn't muster the strength. Issei wanted Dante to show him the path. Dante's house. Irina and Serafal had helped Dante back to his house and put him in his bed to sleep. Irina and Serafal were alone and decided to have a chat about Dante. However, Dante was twisting and turning in his bed as he imagined things happening, terrible things. It was almost as he could see the future. He felt as if everything he's gained since becoming the Black Dragon Emperor and his newest love interests would disappear. Will he really be here? Asked Vali. Office quickly responded, oh yes, he is here all right. Vali and Office were standing outside a small quaint house, a house that reeked of alcohol. Vulnerable. Serafal and Irina were sitting on Dante's couch and decided to talk about Dante's powers. Irina began, so, what was it like seeing his life? What all did you see? Well, I saw everything. It was sad, his life has been controlled by pain. It's just not right. Irina wasn't exactly sure what Serafal meant, but she could see the truth in her eyes. But Irina was also interested in the Black Dragon. How did the Black Dragon choose him? Didn't you say something about returning to this world? I thought the Black Dragon was never killed. Serafal didn't have a precise answer, but she could guess from Dante's conversations with Alduin and the contract. If I had to guess, Alduin at some point must have been banished. To my knowledge they formed a contract, Dante gets his life back, and when Dante's life is over, Alduin returns to this world. Finished Serafal. Irina wasn't exactly sure what this meant, her face gave it away that she was confused. What do you mean Dante gets his life back? He never lost his life. Serafal's eyes fell to the floor. He probably doesn't want me to tell you, you'll have to ask him yourself. The two beautiful girls' talk was interrupted when the front door to Dante's house blew into a million pieces. Vali was already in his balance breaker when he entered the house. Hello ladies, I just wanted to have a chat with your friend. Serafal preferred not to get involved, but she was ready to defend Dante. Irina had readied her angel powers, but they were both taken by surprise when Dante stumbled down the stairs. Hey Vali, where is your master at? Said a still intoxicated Dante. Master? Asked Vali. Yes, Office, you're her bitch, aren't you? Dante was still slurring his words. We work together. Vali was quickly interrupted by Dante. Work together? Bullshit, you just do whatever she tells you, you are the White Dragon Emperor, act like it. Finished Dante as he attempted to compose himself. Vali was stunned, Dante's words rang true. As Vali debated this thought in his mind, Dante slowly staggered towards Vali. Dante placed his hand on Vali's shoulder. Vali took it as a sign of friendship. He was wrong. Absorb echoed throughout the house. Before Vali could react, Dante pulled away and slowly spoke. You are so drunk on obtaining power you failed to realize the snake Office put in you. I just removed it. This is the point where you should thank me. Thank you, I guess I owe you. Vali seemed different now that the snake Office placed in him was gone. However, Vali was curious as to how she even managed to get it inside of him. Dante spoke again, but not to Vali. Where are you, Office? I know you are here. Dante's anger and rage could be sensed by all. His aura and killing intent were so strong it would bring a weaker being to their knees if they were to even feel the emotions he was emitting. Dante's black armor appeared, his red eyes glowing with anger and disgust. Vali wanted to see Dante's powers, so he simply backed away to watch the ensuing fight. Serafal wanted to calm Dante, but before she got close Dante took off through the front door screaming, Office. The three in Dante's house ran outside to watch. Office was floating in the sky, and across from her was Dante. Office calmly began. Nice to see you again, I still haven't fully recovered from our last fight. She was cut off by Dante, he wasn't even speaking in complete sentences or coherently, and it wasn't because of the alcohol. Office, I'll devour you, I will consume you, I will annihilate you, I will lead you to Oblivion. Partner, settle down, this is what she wants. Alduin begged for Dante to settle himself, but it was pointless. The two clashed in the sky. Office's magic attacks were consumed one by Dante. Office charged into Dante, knocking him down to the ground. He coughed up blood and became even more enraged. Office readied a magic attack directed towards Serafal. Dante's anger consumed him. Launching off of the ground, he landed a hit square in Office's gut. She was then launched to the ground. By this time the Orc Club had arrived at the scene. Issei was amazed by Dante's powers. He was exchanging blows with the Infinity Dragon. Azazel and Sir Zetches had arrived. Azazel began to speak as Office, and Dante continued to exchange blows. After lots of research, I believe Office is trying to bring out the dragon's true form into this world. She wants to use this form to return to the dimensional gap. Seraphol, what did you see when Dante showed you his mind? Seraphol produced a serious face. I saw everything. Without giving away Dante's secrets, I will tell you what you want to know. Dante made a deal with Alduin. Basically, when a set amount of time passes or he uses a set amount of power, Alduin will appear in this world once again, and Dante's soul will be used as a catalyst. Seraphol didn't like the thought of Dante disappearing. Azazel's eyes lit up. He knew what Office wanted. Office must want Dante to be killed or consume his power so she can bring Alduin out. Issei was pissed. He was standing with the orc, began to speak. I won't let my friend consume himself. I won't let him die. Welsh dragon balance breaker. Issei stepped forward. Boost echoed throughout the world. Riaz, however, wasn't about to let her precious pawn into a fight like this. Issei, don't interfere with their fight. You are not strong enough. Issei had enough. Not strong enough. We'll find out. He took off into the sky to fight Office. He could hear Azazel speaking. Issei, try to help Dante. If he gets pissed enough, he will activate Alduin's true form. At this point, Volley was intrigued. He wanted to see Alduin's true form, but he also didn't want his rival being killed by Office. Vanishing dragon balance breaker. Volley charged into the sky to fight Office with Issei and Dante. It truly was one of the most epic and incredible fights ever witnessed by this world, the white, red and black dragons all attacking the Infinity Dragon. Divide, ABOSRB, boost. These words resounded throughout the fight. But the fight was short-lived. Issei and Volley were both utterly exhausted and on the ground. Dante was still pounding away mercilessly. He began to speak. Well, Office, you want to see true power. Very well, I will show you. Everyone watching the fight didn't want Dante to activate his true form, but they all wanted to see it. Before Dante could activate his powers, Azazel, Seraphol, and Sir Zetches all released magic attacks to drive Office off. Somehow, it worked. Dante became infuriated that they would interfere with his fight. Alduin's voice boomed throughout the sky. Fools, do you want him to activate his powers? Even Alduin didn't want Dante to die sooner. The battle was about to begin, but Dante looked into Seraphol's eyes. She was horrified she couldn't fight him. No one wanted to fight him. Even Volley and Issei owed Dante for saving them both. Dante could see into their eyes. For a single instant he regained control, enough control for Alduin to take over. Dante closed his eyes and could hear Alduin speak, I'm sorry, partner. Dante fell from the sky still in his armor and crashed into the ground very violently. His armor disappeared and it left Dante without clothes. He was face down and it revealed his mark of the contract. A single small circle was left around the roaring dragon. Seraphol was relieved Dante would still be here. But she had no idea for how long. 1 week later. Dante awoke in a strange place that seemed like a hospital room. He spoke out for Alduin, but Alduin didn't answer. Dante sprung from the bed, which removed all the instruments and strange tubes that were inside of him. He needed to find a mirror. The small room did have a bathroom in it. Dante staggered from the bed into the bathroom and was relived. The mark was still on his back, but it also meant that Alduin's return was drawing closer as he couldn't hide the mark any longer. In the hospital waiting room sat Seraphol. Every day she would visit Dante. Along with Issei. Volley had snuck in a few times to see Dante. But since he was still a wanted criminal, it made it difficult to see Dante. The Koa's brigade had fallen apart without Office and Volley. Volley had lost his purpose, he had nothing to do. So, as his name would suggest, after seeing Dante, he vanished. Issei and Seraphol were talking as they waited a doctor to give them permission to see Dante. The underworld did have a great healthcare system. A doctor hurried down the stairs and was out of breath as he barely could speak. He's gone, we lost him. Seraphol became enraged. What do you mean you lost him? She began to glow and was very upset. Issei grabbed her and pulled her back. What happened? Where is he? Said Issei. The doctor directed Issei and Seraphol to Dante's room. The window was smashed. This room was on the 3rd floor. Seraphol and Issei assumed this meant he activated his powers, which was bad since he didn't have much time left. Seraphol wasn't really concerned about the return of Alduin, she cared more about Dante disappearing. Dante was wandering away from the hospital, his mind was slipping, he couldn't activate his powers no matter how hard he tried. Was he human again? What did Alduin do? The hospital was surrounded by woods. Dante retreated into the woods. Word quickly got out that Dante had escaped. Within a few hours a massive search party had assembled and was combing the hospital building and the surrounding area, looked for Dante. Eventually they found a few traces of Dante's presence. Luckily it was Issei that found Dante, he was unconscious. Seraphol quickly arrived as well as Arena as Issei contacted them. Issei activated his balance breaker and carried Dante fireman style. They had one idea of where to go but would need help. Issei contacted Azazel. He suggested going to the Grigori, the fallen angel's headquarters. A few hours later Dante was in the care of Azazel. They hadn't told Sir Zetches and were glad they didn't, as he issued a capture kill order on Dante claiming he is too dangerous to be alive. Chief Michael was also for this order. Irina was furious. Why would Heaven's leader do this? Azazel began, listen, I can keep him here until he wakes up. I don't know when that will be. You can stay here or go back. Azazel had locked eyes with Seraphol. She got the message but still didn't want to leave. She ended up realizing it was for the best. She didn't need to be listed as a stray. Azazel spoke, now that Dante is listed as a threat, this means harboring him could be considered an act of defiance against the devils and angels. Irina, Issei, you both need to be on board or you need to leave. It will only be a matter of time before they figure out I'm holding Dante. Issei's life flashed before him, all the words Dante said about Riaz. He needed to see if they rang true before leaving. Irina also needed to see what Chief Michael had to say about Dante before leaving. Alright, you two do what you need to do. I can give you 24 hours. Make it fast. Issei and Irina. Irina headed to talk to Chief Michiel and Issei to talk with Riaz. However, Volley was waiting for Issei and appeared right after Irina left. Issei, I will help you. Dante, and I guess helping you would be a start. We will face this threat together. Issei and Volley disappeared to talk to the orc and Sir Zetches. Azazel was watching from above, the red one and the white one working together for the sake of the black one. What has this world come to? Just how strong are you, Alduin? Azazel thought to himself. Azazel also wanted to tell them, but Dante's aura was gone. Was he just a human now? Alduin's return. Issei and Volley arrived back in the mortal world. Issei headed into the club room to confront Riaz, while Volley waited on standby, just in case shit hit the fan. President, can I talk to you? Issei said innocently to Riaz. Sure, what is it, Issei? Riaz wasn't prepared for what Issei had to say next. She suspected something was wrong with Issei. He had been acting strangely for a while. He had been despondent. President, do you care about me? Issei said. Of course I do. You are my beloved pawn. Riaz was cut off by Issei before she could finish. Or do you care about me because I am the Red Dragon Emperor? Issei spoke very coldly. You're Issei, I don't know what you want me to say. Riaz became increasingly more flustered. Issei spoke again in his cold tone. What about Raynor? Didn't you sense her in your territory? I couldn't. Riaz was quickly cut off by Issei. What about the magic circle you gave me? It couldn't have been a coincidence that you just found me. What about your other slaves? You saved them all on the verge of death. How can everyone be saved by you in their darkest moments? Issei was asking questions, too many questions. Riaz slowly became overwhelmed. She attempted to hug Issei. Get away from me. Issei snarled. This time Issei wasn't interested in Riaz Gremory attempting to seduce him. You make me sick, I can see it in your eyes. Everything I said rings true, doesn't it? Riaz was devastated. Issei had figured everything out. She blamed Dante. It was that Black Dragon Emperor who told you this, wasn't it? He is using you, Issei. Come back to me. Riaz was interrupted again. Stop, I can't take any more of this. Dante is a pure person. He is better than you will ever be. You haven't faced a single problem in your perfect little life, have you? Issei, I don't know what Riaz was trying so hard, but nothing was going to work against Issei, whose eyes had been opened. Dreg? Issei said aloud. Partner, are you sure? Dreg asked. Yes, do it. Issei's sacred gear appeared on his arm, a bright green light emanating from his body. He held out his clenched fist. His red claws opened and falling out on the floor of the orc were 8 white pawn pieces. Find a new slave. Issei growled. Riaz was so stunned she couldn't do anything. She fell to her knees as Issei left the building. Volley was waiting and took the now weak Issei back to the Grigori. Meanwhile, in heaven. Chief Michael, can I have a word? Spoke Irina in a very heartfelt tone. Her innocence and purity radiated through her words. Chief Michael obliged. What is it, my child? Why do you want to kill Dante? Asked Irina. Chief Michael sighed. He is far too dangerous, and if he is to stay alive, he will upset the balance we have worked so hard to achieve. The peace we are enjoying will disappear. Peace, too dangerous. But Lord Michael, he is still a human. Irina was getting angry. Her wings flashed back and forth between golden and black. Irina, you need to calm down or you will fall. Chief Michael begged with Irina. No, I will not allow a human to be killed just because he is feared. Irina's wings went black, her now black feathers fell around her. She was now fallen. Chief Michael tried to save her, but, for one last instant of kindness, Chief Michael simply told her to leave and never come back. Chief Michael banished her from heaven and back to the ground. Volley was also waiting. He brought Irina back to Grigori. Since she was a fallen, it would be her new home. Issei was weak and Irina was still in shock. She would never be an angel again. All for what? They now both regretted their choices. Issei was asleep in a room within the Grigori near Dante. Irina was sitting beside Issei in a chair next to his bed. Azazel entered to speak with Irina. Irina, I am sorry that you are one of us. Azazel was genuinely sorry it turned out this way. It's okay, I have Issei still right. Irina tried to produce a smile. I guess you are right, however, on to Issei. It will take some time for him to wake up, maybe a day or two, but he should be fine. With the power Dante gave him, Issei can't sustain himself. However, if at some point he can't, I will happily reincarnate him as a fallen angel, if it does come to that. Azazel left the room so Irina and Issei could be alone. Azazel then went into Dante's room. You are there, aren't you? Black Dragon Emperor. Azazel said coldly. Yes, what does the Governor General of the Fallen Angels want with me? What I want is simple, why did you pick Dante and his powers and aura? What are you doing? I am trying to keep him alive for as long as possible. If he can't access his powers, it will allow him to live longer. Azazel, listen to me, don't tell anyone this. Azazel smirked, very well. When I formed the contract with Dante, I wanted to return to this world. I see you are confused. When I was fighting God, he asked me a simple question. Why? I was never able to answer that question. When I saw the destruction I wrought on the world, I continually kept activating dimensional shift until I banished myself and became weak. After many years I decided it was time to return. However, all the time I spent with Dante showed me that this world doesn't need to be consumed. Now it is nearing the point where I will return. However, I don't wish to kill Dante, so I have returned him to his human self. The contract will be ended. Azazel was shocked. So, you come into this world, mess it up, then leave Dante defenseless against Office. Alduin sighed and continued, he isn't defenseless, he has all of you. Besides, if he really needs my powers, he can search his soul and activate them again. However, the fight with Office left him with a small amount of power left, only enough to access my powers one final time in their purest form. When he does that, it is up to his willpower if he wants to remain in this world. I am fully ready to transfer the powers to him. Azazel gasped in horror and curiosity, what do you mean transfer your powers? Alduin responded calmly, just as I said, if his willpower and his heart truly wish to remain in this world, I will give him my powers and the title, Black Dragon Emperor of Oblivion. He is the only one I can do this for. No one else is worthy enough as he is. Azazel compassed himself, so, give him reasons to stay, and he will gain your powers. Alduin quickly responded, yes, however, I can sense people's intentions. If you or anyone tries to use him, I will resurrect, and I will devour you. Alduin was polite but very serious. Azazel understood Alduin, very well, thank you for your time, Black Dragon. Alduin spoke once again as his voice faded. Azazel, please, don't let another war happen. I am entrusting this all to you. Good luck. Azazel had a lot of work ahead of him, keep Issei and Irina sane, awaken Dante and confront the great powers. Back in the underworld. Serziches was horrified as Riaz told him about Issei. Riatan, for now I want you to focus on your friends. I know this sounds harsh, but you must forget Issei. He has come into the clutches of the Black Dragon. I thought Dante could be controlled. I was wrong. Now he has gathered the two great dragons onto his side. I haven't heard from Azazel in a while as well. Irina also fell. Riaz was shocked. Dante was molding the world to his liking. She didn't like it. She was facing problems. The perfect princess's life was falling apart. Meanwhile, as all this happened, Dante was trapped in his own mind. Images would flash through his mind. Of Sarah, his mother, Office, Issei, Irina and Seraphol. Flames would consume everyone. Dante would scream in his own mind, was he not strong enough to protect what he wanted? Dante awoke in a pool of sweat and anger. His mind was tumbling downward to path of oblivion. Dante stumbled out of the room to see Vali. Issei is here, I am ready to fight when the time comes. Also, I brought these. Vali held out his hands and revealed a case of beer and a carton of cigarettes. Dante calmed down and produced a smile, thanks, I really appreciate it. Vali handed the items to Dante and asked him, what are you planning anyways? You have the powers of the white and red on your side. What are you going to do with them? Dante smirked, I have decided, we are going to burn it all down, everything. The world will kneel before us. We are dragons, we will take what we want and protect who we love. That is the world in which I strive to create. Clarity was starting to form in Dante's mind of what he wanted to do. Vali was happy, just making sure that I should stay on your side. I'll be heading out today to train with Issei. You also have a visitor. Vali left to train Issei, who had also just awoken. Azazel was walking down the hallway with no one other than Seraphol Leviathan. Dante was happy to see her. Azazel motioned Seraphol to Dante and left. Dante was worried, what if Seraphol didn't like Dante's plan? You want to do what? Cried out Seraphol. Dante became sad, he feared she wouldn't. You can count me in, said Seraphol. Dante was beyond surprised to hear this, I am assuming you just want your sister to stay safe. Seraphil spoke happily, of course, besides, all this terrorism and diplomacy and other stuff is just a pain in the butt. Dante was overjoyed. Seraphil agreed to his plans. Don't worry, you can still be a magical girl. I wish to hurt no one, I just want to end the mindless bloodshed and fear. Seraphil was very happy to hear this from Dante. She was overtaken by Dante's words. She grabbed Dante's shirt and pulled herself up and kissed Dante passionately on the lips. When she pulled away, a trail of saliva from the Leviathan and Black Dragon fell to the floor. Dante was taken aback by this, but liked it, he wanted more. Oh, not yet Dante, this magical girl has more. Seraphil said to Dante as she twirled around. Dante let out a smile, as Seraphil said, I have to go now, I'll be back for more. A magic circle appeared below her and she left. Dante was pretty happy, and even more so when Vali came back with an exhausted Issei. He fought well, but I also have good news, we will have more people joining our cause. Vali set Issei down and moved over to reveal the members of the Ko's brigade, what was left of them anyways. Dante was happy, however Azazel was not. Are you trying to start a war, Dante? I thought you wanted to prevent one. I could get in serious trouble if the other factions discovered this. Azazel was upset, but he was more trying to get a rise out of Dante. Don't worry about it, Azazel, I have everything under control. However, their light-hearted conversation was interrupted when a force appeared outside the Grigori unlike any other. Serziches was at the helm as well as Chief Michael, Odin, Thor and an army of angels and devils. Azazel felt the presence and wanted to talk, but Dante wasn't interested in talking, he was furious. However, he also felt calm. Dante told Azazel. I will handle this, Vali, Issei. It is time. Vali nodded as well as Issei. Dante emerged out the Grigori with Vali and Issei in their armor. Is this an affront to peace? Dante's voice boomed. Serziches spoke first, this is a rejection of your rule. Dante chuckled, my rule? I have no desire for that, I wish to create a world where happiness is attainable and a state of peace for that matter is available. I will destroy Office and end her terror. I will chase my dreams and those who oppose me shall not see mercy. You want to kill me because you can't control me, that thought scares you, so now you are ready to slaughter me and anyone who associates themselves with me. I will not allow this to happen. Dante's eyes became a glowing red color, an aura of power could be felt by all, was this it, the return of the dragon of Oblivion, who brought the world to its knees? Dante spoke as a black energy glowed from him, everyone was captivated by this power. I who shall awaken. I am the dragon who stole all from God. I despise the infinity and will consume the dream. I shall become the black dragon god of Oblivion. I shall devour your very essence. I will return to this world. True form. Dante's armor appeared but slowly morphed into a true dragon, a massive creature nearly 100 meters tall. Alduin's true form manifested itself once again. With ebony scales and red reptilian eyes. He roared a roar unlike any other, and a voice boomed throughout the entire underworld. I have returned to this world only to announce my departure. Dante Castle will cease to exist, for he is the new black dragon god of Oblivion. I will be taking my leave. As Alduin's words slowly faded away, Dante regained control of the dragon. He now had Alduin's powers, would it consume him, would his lust take over? He wasn't sure, Dante was now Alduin. Alduin stood in defiance to the powers, as he did a millennia ago, roaring a mighty roar emitting flames and smoke. His powers could not be contested. Now that he had these powers, what was he going to do with them? End of the part 2 here. So how was the story? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this story with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.